Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we're diving deep into one of the most influential psychology books of modern times, Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. This is a full story-style summary of the book's ideas written like a YouTube video script, using simple language and clear examples. There are no technical detours, no interruptions, and no formal structure breaks. Just a smooth, human explanation of what emotional intelligence is, why it matters, and how it quietly shapes almost everything in our lives. So grab a coffee, settle in, and let's talk about emotions, the brain, and what really makes people succeed. The book begins with a powerful idea. For a long time, society believed that intelligence was mostly about IQ. High IQ meant success. Low IQ meant struggle. Schools tested it, companies rewarded it, and parents worried about it. But over time, something strange became impossible to ignore. Some people with very high IQs failed in life. Some people with average IQs became outstanding leaders, partners, teachers, and innovators. This gap is where emotional intelligence lives. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand emotions, manage them, and use them wisely. It applies to your own emotions and the emotions of others. According to the book, this kind of intelligence often matters more than raw brain power when it comes to happiness, relationships, leadership, and long-term success. Daniel Goleman doesn't argue that IQ is useless. He explains that IQ helps you get in the door. Emotional intelligence decides how far you go once you're inside. At the heart of the book is the idea that emotions are not the enemy of reason. They are part of how we think, decide, and act. When emotions are understood and guided, they become a strength. When they are ignored or uncontrolled, they can quietly ruin lives. To explain this, the book takes us inside the human brain. The brain has older emotional parts and newer thinking parts. The emotional brain evolved first. It reacts fast. It's designed for survival. When danger appears, it doesn't stop to analyze. It acts immediately. The thinking brain, especially the frontal areas, evolved later. This part helps us plan, reason, reflect, and make careful decisions. Ideally, these two systems work together. The emotional brain sends signals, and the thinking brain interprets and guides them. But sometimes emotions hijack the system. The book introduces the idea of emotional hijacking. This happens when a strong emotion like fear, anger, or panic takes control before logic has time to respond. In these moments, people say or do things they later regret. The thinking brain goes offline and the emotional brain runs the show. This explains road rage, explosive arguments, and sudden panic. It also explains why people sometimes make terrible decisions even when they know better. Emotional intelligence helps reduce these hijacks. It doesn't remove emotions. It gives the thinking brain a chance to catch up. One of the most important abilities in emotional intelligence is self-awareness. Self-awareness means recognizing what you are feeling while you are feeling it, not later, not in hindsight, in the moment. This sounds simple, but many people struggle with it. They feel stressed but don't realize it until they explode. They feel anxious but label it as anger. They feel sad but distract themselves instead of acknowledging it. The book explains that emotions send signals. When you are aware of them, you can respond instead of react. When you are unaware, emotions control your behavior from the background. People with strong self-awareness can say things like, "I'm feeling overwhelmed right now," or "I notice I'm getting defensive," or "This situation is making me anxious." That awareness creates space, and in that space, better choices become possible. Closely connected to self-awareness is emotional self-control. Self-control does not mean suppressing emotions or pretending they don't exist. The book is very clear about this. Suppressed emotions don't disappear. They leak out in unhealthy ways. Self-control means managing emotions so they serve you instead of sabotage you. This includes calming yourself when you're upset, staying flexible under stress, and delaying impulsive reactions. It also includes recovering quickly from emotional setbacks instead of staying stuck. The book shares research showing that people who can tolerate emotional discomfort tend to do better in life. They can stay focused, persist through difficulty, and resist short-term temptations in favor of long-term goals. One famous example discussed is the marshmallow experiment, where children were offered a choice between 1 marshmallow now or 2 marshmallows later. The children who waited tended to have better life outcomes years later, not because they were smarter, but because they could manage their impulses. This ability to regulate emotions turns out to be a powerful predictor of success. Another core part of emotional intelligence is motivation. Motivation here doesn't mean external rewards like money or praise. It means internal drive, the ability to pursue goals with energy and persistence even when things are hard. Emotionally intelligent people tend to be motivated by meaning, growth, and purpose rather than just immediate rewards. They can delay gratification. They stay optimistic in the face of setbacks. They see failure as information, not identity. The book explains that emotions play a huge role in motivation. Hope fuels effort. Optimism sustains persistence. Despair shuts everything down. People who can manage their emotional states can keep themselves moving forward even when motivation naturally dips. This leads into another major theme of the book, empathy. Empathy is the ability to sense and understand the emotions of others. It's not about agreeing with someone, it's about understanding what they feel and why. Empathy begins with attention. If you are distracted, rushed, or self-absorbed, you miss emotional cues. Tone of voice, facial expression, posture, and timing all communicate feelings. The book explains that empathy is built into the brain. Humans are wired to feel with others. When we see someone in pain, parts of our own brain activate as if we were in pain ourselves. But empathy can be weakened or strengthened by experience, culture, and habits. People who grow up in emotionally responsive environments tend to develop stronger empathy. People who grow up ignored or invalidated may struggle with it. Empathy is essential for relationships. Without it, communication breaks down, conflicts escalate, trust erodes. With empathy, people feel seen, heard, and respected. Even disagreements becomes easier to navigate. Empathy also plays a major role in leadership. The book spends significant time explaining why emotional intelligence matters in the workplace. Traditionally, organizations focused on technical skills and intelligence, but studies consistently show that top performers differ from average performers more in emotional skills than in technical ability. Leaders who lack emotional intelligence often create toxic environments. They may be brilliant, but they fail to inspire, listen, or adapt. Their teams feel stressed, undervalued, or afraid. Emotionally intelligent leaders, on the other hand, create psychological safety. They manage their own emotions during pressure. They understand the emotional climate of their team. They give feedback without humiliation. They motivate without fear. The book explains that emotions are contagious. A leader's mood can spread through an entire organization. Calm leaders create calm cultures. Anxious leaders create anxious cultures. This is why emotional intelligence is not just a personal skill, it's a systemic force. Social skills form another key part of emotional intelligence. Social skills include communication, conflict management, influence, collaboration, and relationship building. These skills depend on self-awareness, self-control, empathy, and motivation all working together. The book emphasizes that strong social skills don't mean being charming or outgoing, they mean being emotionally attuned. People with strong social skills know when to speak and when to listen. They can navigate difficult conversations without escalating them. They can build rapport and trust over time. They understand that relationships are emotional systems, not logical ones. Throughout the book, Goleman challenges the idea that emotions should be left out of professional or academic settings. He argues that ignoring emotions doesn't make them disappear, it makes them operate invisibly, often destructively. Schools, for example, often focus entirely on cognitive learning while ignoring emotional development. Yet emotional skills are essential for learning. A child who can't manage anxiety or frustration struggles to concentrate. A child who can't read social cues struggles with